Good day and welcome back to another episode on the Truck Focus podcast.
Good day and welcome to the very first episode of a Youthful Take on Transportation, powered by the Truck Focus podcast. The Youthful Take on Transportation is a podcast series where I, Avery, will highlight different parts of the transportation industry, the benefits of the trucking industry, the goal of educating our youth and teenagers about different opportunities, and hopefully encourage others to become interested in getting involved. We need to always remember, if you got it, a truck brought it. And that without the professional drivers operating safely on our roadways, the comforts we have as people have to come to expect, simply put, would stop. In this series, I'm excited to interview different over-the-road legends that are making a difference in our industry as professional drivers and ask them specific questions about the journey while on the road. You will see me interview different professional drivers for the first edition, and then I look forward to recording an episode with a couple of our professional drivers in the very near future. Well, let's get to it.
All right, awesome.
Good day, Les, and welcome to the series of a Youthful Take on Transportation. I'm super excited to have the opportunity to interview you today.
Thank you.
Before we get started, I want to say how much I appreciate what you do as you operate as a professional driver over the road. My dad speaks highly of you, so it is nice to officially meet you.
It's nice to meet you too.
My first question is, how do you decide what area to stop while you're operating on the road to West?
Well, how do I decide? Well, what I do is I've been doing this for a long time, so I generally know most of the areas I travel in. And some areas, depending on the time of day, it's harder to find parking than other areas. Generally around bigger cities, it's always harder. In some places I travel after 5 or 6 at night or even earlier, it's almost impossible to find a parking spot.
Wow.
So I try to work my schedule as best as I can, so that where I'm in more populated areas or closer to big cities where it's harder to find parking, I'm stopping earlier at night, so it increases my chances of finding parking. And when I'm in less populated areas or kind of out in the middle of nowhere, then it doesn't really matter as much, so that I generally will opt to maybe work a little bit later in the evening and then start my day earlier in the morning. So that's kind of how I decide it's kind of how I prioritize things.
Oh, wow. So you just figured that starting at trying to park at night, you don't have to fight as much for parking?
Some places, yeah, it's difficult.
Okay.
Like I said, when you're around bigger cities, like when you're around Toronto, I actually live just outside Toronto. So for the most part, it's not a concern because I'm just going back to the yard and going home. But sometimes I do end up just outside Toronto, and it is hard to find parking there. Or, some of the bigger cities in the U.S. I go down to New Jersey and in through New York City quite a bit. And through those areas, it's literally almost impossible. It's really hard, even at 3 or 4 in the afternoon sometimes, to get a parking spot, for instance, on the New Jersey Turnpike. In some of those rest areas, it gets pretty hard.
Wow.
So I have to keep that in mind when planning my trip, basically. So
Wow, that's really cool. Okay, so my second question is, so when you need fuel, can you explain the entire process from deciding what fuel station to go and what is required on the fuel station's property?
Okay, well, so basically, I don't really decide exactly where I fuel. I have some choices, but our company wants us primarily to fuel at certain truck stops, certain chains of truck stops, for instance. And so I have to go there, but I can choose, I have some choice into exactly which location I choose, but not necessarily in the chain that I use. So when I go fuel up, what's really required, and a lot of it's just courtesy, really. Sometimes if there's a lineup there, you get in the lineup, and then when the pump becomes available in front of you, you pull up. It's just a process of basically swiping your cards at, plugging in your PIN codes, and everything's pretty much taken care of automatically through the company. But the problem I find with fueling is a lot of drivers are very courteous. They'll fuel up, maybe go in right quick, use the washroom, maybe grab a coffee or something, and they're out like 10 minutes later, which works great because it generally takes 10 to 15 minutes to fuel up your truck anyway. So as long as everyone's courteous and they kind of keep things moving, it's okay. It's once in a while you get someone that ends up in the truck stop for whatever reason, and they might be in there for half an hour or so.
Okay.
So what happens there is you're finished fueling already, but you can't pull ahead. Sometimes there's people behind you, you can't even back up. So you're just sort of stuck and it backs everything up. So as long as everyone's courteous, the process works pretty good. But if they're not, they can go sideways in a hurry. And that's pretty much the process to that. So yeah, I mean, I have some choices, but some of those my choices are limited by the preferences of my company.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's very nice of you to share. So, thirdly,
Thank you.
I know that only so much weight is allowed in a trailer. So, you do not go overweight on the road. What do you need to do to make sure you are not overweight? Do you use a scale?
Yes. Yeah. So generally, if the load's heavier, like I personally don't worry about scaling too much when it's under 30,000 pounds. So I haul a lot of tandem trailers right now. So that's with 2 axles on the trailer. And generally in the US, you're allowed a gross weight with a tandem trailer of 80,000 pounds. That's truck, trailer, load, and everything, right?
Mhm.
So when it's under 30,000 pounds, I do have a suspension gauge in the tractor. So it doesn't give me an exact weight of what's on the drive tires, so the rear 2 tires of the truck, but it gives me a general indication. So as long as that's pretty close to where it should be, and I'm under 30,000 pounds, I generally don't worry about weighing up. When I'm over 30,000 pounds, I most definitely do, just to make sure that I'm within a weight limit. So you have to worry about your total weight, your gross weight, which is your total weight. So I'm allowed 80,000 pounds, but you also have axle weights to worry about. So on my front tires of the tractor, which are called your steer tires. So on your steering axle, you're allowed 12,000 pounds. And on your rear drives on the tractor, you're allowed 34,000 pounds. And on the trailer axles, the tandems, you're allowed 34,000 pounds. So all that adds up to
Wow.
80,000 pounds. So you have to make sure you're not over on one axle or another, and that happens frequently. So then you basically have to slide your axles. You can slide your tandems forward or backwards, and each hole you move, there's different holes of slots there. So each hole you move roughly adds, takes 300 to 400 pounds of weight, adds it or subtracts off your rear tandems depending on what you're trying to do, right? So for instance, if I'm heavy on the truck, on my drives, but not heavy on the trailer, I'll slide my rear tandems on the trailer forward towards the tractor.
Oh,
So by doing that, it takes up more of the weight on the trailer axles, and it reduces the weight on the truck axles. So that's kind of in a roundabout way how it's done. Does
wow.
that kind of make sense? Or
Yeah, that really makes sense. Thank you.
okay, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, that really did. Thank you. So what
You're
type of
welcome.
supplies do you bring with you when you're not traveling on the road to make sure you do not go hungry or thirsty? Do you bring these from home or do you stop at a truck stop and get food from there?
Okay, so in my truck, I have a fridge.
Oh yeah.
So I can bring food from home. I can keep my fridge up to 3, 4, or 5 days, however, like same as you can at home, basically. Not a very big fridge, but I try to make the most of it. So when I leave from home, I generally, a lot of times I'll take some food from home, like maybe the day before. If we make a big meal, like maybe we'll make some chicken and potatoes or something.
Mhm.
Then I'll pack up maybe 3 or 4 containers of extra chicken and potatoes to bring with
Wow.
me. It's a little bit healthier what I can find on the road. And it also saves me a little bit of money as well, right?
Right.
And I do a combination of bringing food from home and buying food on the road. When I'm on the road, I travel in the US a lot, and my 2 favorite restaurants here, I'm not sure if you're familiar with them or not, but I like Panda Express. It's a Chinese
Oh
restaurant.
yeah, I've heard
I'm
of
not
it
sure if you
before.
have any of those out west there.
I've heard of it
And I
before.
like Chipotle.
Mm.
So Chipotle is kind of like fast food Mexican,
Oh yeah.
but it's probably I personally think anyway, it's probably one of the healthier fast food meals you can buy. It's probably the closest to home cooked that I can find on the road.
Okay.
So those are my 2 favorite restaurants. I mean, obviously I go to other restaurants. I try to limit fast food if I can. It's not the best for you,
Hmm.
but I do eat fast food sometimes too. And yeah, so a combination of buying food on the road and bringing food from home is what I find best. As far as drinks goes, I actually have my own coffee maker in the truck, so I make
Oh.
my own coffee. Yeah, and so I don't have to worry about coffee. I as a truck driver, coffee is basically, it's not even really a drink; it's a food group. We all live on coffee.
Especially
So
my
I
dad.
actually have French press. Yeah, exactly. So I actually have French press travel mugs. I have a kettle, and I can literally make a cup of coffee in the truck in like probably less than 3 or 4 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's better than I find. It's better like I can find in the store. I can buy good quality organic coffee and
Mm.
so stuff like that. So I do have some modern comforts in the truck. I also have an APU, which is like an automated power unit. It's like a generator pack on the side of the truck. So, and I have a power inverter. So I can actually bring appliances from home. So I can plug in my laptop and my phone and charge them. I can run my kettle. I can run whatever I want. I used to have a microwave in my truck, but I got rid of it a few years ago. I did a lot of reading, and we just decided that maybe using a microwave wasn't the best for us. So I don't have a microwave anymore, but I used to carry one. But yeah, so I have a lot of creature comforts in the truck. You might not the average person might not realize exactly, the conveniences we have in the truck, but if you're on the road for a long time, it's nice to have those conveniences.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, when you are traveling with traffic on the roadway, how important is it to drive safely to make sure that no incidents or accidents happen?
Well, I try to leave a reasonable amount of following a distance in front of me in case people all of a sudden slam on their brakes or there is something happening in front of me. As a truck driver, you get used to scanning for traffic in front of you. I'm looking, and I do this and I don't even realize it anymore. You just do it automatically after a number of years. I'm always scanning. I'm probably looking out. I'm guessing maybe about a kilometer out most of the time, half a kilometer to kilometer, depending on if there's hills or turns. But I'm always scanning way ahead to look for visual signs that something's going on. If I see people's brake lights generally all being applied at the same time, then I automatically slow down. I start slowing down because I'm thinking maybe there's something happening. And even if there's not, you can always like speed up later. It's not a big deal, but to basically be able to read traffic and preempt any serious things that might be in front of you or react to them earlier, it decreases your chances of having problems on the road. The other problem I find is when people are trying to merge onto highways. Like that's as a truck driver, that's the biggest thing. I don't think a lot of people realize how to properly merge. And so it's like a smorgasbord on the highway, like especially if you hit the on-ramp at the same time that a vehicle's trying to enter the highway. Like sometimes you don't know, are they actually going to speed up? Are they going to slow down? Like what are they going to do? And I try to get over, one lane to the left if I can, but it's not always convenient. So basically, sometimes I have to kind of judge it. I might have to slow down a little bit to let them in, or I might have to speed up. And sometimes we both end up doing the same things. I'm slowing down, they're slowing down. It's like, okay, what do I do now, right? So I think that's one of the most unpredictable things out there. But other than that, I think the most important thing is to scan in front of you, like a fair distance in front of you, look for signs of issues, and then try to react to them early.
Wow. So, one of the most important questions of today, what do you like most about being a professional driver?
Okay. Well, I like to drive, so I think, that kind of makes me more of a natural fit. I think being able to travel and see different places, to me, is one of the most important things. In my career, I've pretty much traveled in every single state except for Alaska and Hawaii, obviously. And I've traveled across every Canadian province in a truck except Newfoundland, but I've traveled through Newfoundland with a car before. So Newfoundland's the only province I haven't hit, and I haven't hit any of the territories. So it's neat to see new things. I really like Florida, and I really like Southern California as far as scenery goes. I like going into California over the mountains. I think that's really nice. The mountains in BC are really nice too. I've had the opportunity to take the ferry a few times to Vancouver Island to make deliveries.
Oh, wow.
I thought that was really neat. As a truck driver, it's something a lot of truck drivers don't really get to do. So I've seen a lot of nice places, I've seen a lot of neat things. And especially in the wintertime, I find it's never a bad thing to see palm trees in the wintertime. You get out of getting out of the weather in the wintertime is really nice too.
Yeah.
It's I could be in Florida, it might be plus 20 degrees in like January or February, and my wife's sitting at home, it's minus 20 degrees.
Summer and winter.
So I kind of have fun with it, bugging her about it sometimes.
Do you have any
Yeah.
final thoughts for today?
Not really. I think that unless you have any more questions for me, I think I pretty
that's
much.
all.
I think I would talk. I think I would talk to myself today.
Les, thank you so much for letting me interview you today, Les. And this was a really good experience, and I hope you had fun as well.
I appreciate it, there, Avery and Josh, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, take care. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
So Avery, how is the interview with Les?
Oh man, it was amazing. I learned a lot from Les.
That's awesome. Yeah, you guys did a really good job. So shout out again to Les Mann. Appreciate you. Definitely appreciate you coming on. Again for the Truck Focus podcast, but with the Youthful Take. It's just, it means a lot, Les. So thank you so much. That was
thank
awesome.
you.
You guys did a really good job. So Avery, in your conversation, were there any things that you felt Les said that other youth should know?
Yeah, there were a couple of things that I feel that other you should know. And one of those things is because there are other drivers who are going to be parking, you always want to be aware of where you are going to park ahead of time. And you always want to make sure that you and other drivers will be safe.
Totally.
And another thing I want others to know is that you want to make sure you are finding a parking spot early so that you are not trying to park when you as the driver are tired.
That's right. Yeah, it's important when driver to driver, youth learning that when you're trying to find a parking spot, you want to know where you're going well before you actually have to get there. That way, just a really important part of route planning. And then, being aware that you may be tired, but others may be tired and you want to stay safe is super important. So good job, Avery. Those are good observations.
And in the conversation, Les was talking about fueling. And he said, when fueling, drivers need to be courteous of other people around them so that they can keep moving. So fueling, getting any food or drinks, and leaving without any delays.
Yes, that's also super important. So fueling obviously is super important to stay on the road. But when you're trying to make it from point A to point B, you want to make sure that you can get the fuel that you need, maybe run to the bathroom, grab a snack and hit the road again without causing a delay to yourself or to others. So it's a really good point, buddy. Good job. Yeah, that's awesome. So as you continue to learn about the industry, what other things do you think youth and kids alike need to learn about?
Well, the first thing is if you got it, a truck brought it.
Nice. Yeah, that's that's awesome. Yeah, that's good. So, and as you continue to advocate for our industry, so the trucking industry, what do you want people to most remember you for?
What I want most people to remember me for is how I made a positive impact of other people at a young age.
That's awesome. Yeah, and you're doing that through this and through other conversations. But just, I think speaking on behalf of drivers and industry, when someone of your age gets it, you understand if you got it, it's because a truck brought it. But you understand waving to drivers, smiling, and just being a nice person to people that are bringing us essential goods. It means a lot. So I definitely think that's definitely what you'll be remembered for, buddy. So that's awesome. Well, thank you. This was a really good first episode.
Yeah, it was awesome. Really appreciate. And also thank you, Les, for joining me today.
Great. Yeah, well done. Thanks so much again, Les. Thanks, Avery. Okay. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.